Well, what is up, everybody? Keith, aka Gator Guy 231, joined by Chris. I just woke up because I'm on the Central Time Zone. Hold the door to our DFS. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. This is a good wake-up call, though, to do something like this. So
yeah, dude. So I think the big news is we both hit our goals. Like we kind of actually did, somewhat lofty goals. We had very different ways to get it, but I said I wanted to hit $2,000 in a week. What did you say?
I think that was $2,000, or maybe it was like 1,700. It was like meeting the next, I think 17,000 for the year. So on Roller Tracker.
So we got there. We're gonna go over this week just kind of what we did to get there, some regrets, and just kind of setting some goals for next week. Because I do think this, Chris, and before we get into the ads part of the show, for me at least, I think I've done a crappy job overall in my DFS career, except for like some challenges that I've done of setting like specific goals. And I do think that helped. How about yourself?
Yeah, I didn't really start setting goals till this year either, but I think a couple of years ago when I started tracking or, just looking at data, that was like the first step to becoming more profitable and really trusting the process. So now I think setting goals is just another layer in that process. I think that will help long-term.
And that is a perfect segue. It's like you do this a lot. They're not the official sponsor of this show yet, but we are going to be using them a ton. They are a partner of FSI, but the screens you are going to be seeing coming up soon are from Roto Tracker. You need to make sure, guys, that you sign up for Roto Tracker. There is no other place out there that will let you track your DFS results, have more ability to, do filters on every single which sport. I know one of our members actually reached out to them because soccer is such a complex thing. There's so many different leagues, and he wanted to know what his Europa League ROI was versus EPL and all this stuff. And I believe they already added filters that everybody can use now. So awesome place. It's a fantastic product in addition to having fantastic support. So there'll be a link and the details. Make sure you check it out. Chris, I will let you do the other ad, which is the little giveaway we have for those that are going to hit that bottom right subscribe button.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a $100 cash giveaway right to your PayPal. We are on the fast track right now. We are less than 50 away from hitting that 1,000 subscribers. So make sure that you have liked and retweeted that tweet, because once we hit that 1,000, we are going to draw right away. So that is in our Twitter account, our FSI Twitter account, and help us to get to that 1,000.
Yep. Bottom right, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to enter into that contest, I will also have the details for that. All right. Ad part done. Let's get in the DFS. Chris, actually, I guess I'll go. I'll start out. So, I think one of the coolest things about this whole kind of thing that me and you are going to be doing together in terms of comparing our results is the fact that we are so different players in terms of like our style and the games we target. So, I think a lot of people know me as more of like a cash player, but honestly, I do really just enjoy GPPs and more so lately, just really trying to take some of the premium plays that, might be cash worthy and really just mix them in with some like lower owned plays and just work more on construction and, kind of some game theory stuff. And this week, have no idea why. Like I said, I'm not going to discount setting a goal as a reason. I said $2,000 and I wanted to work back into it, but I also didn't want to like avoid my style. Like, I'm never the type that's going to go enter, 5 different entries into the 180. It's just not a comfort level for me right now. Not because I don't like trust my play. It's just that like I know that I will change my style, and I'm not going to be as risky if I have $180 entries. So got lucky. Had 2 binks in NFL on Sunday. You sweated it out with me until the end. Sunday was actually kind of brutal. Was I think 9th in the playmaker for $3,000 for the entire second half until. Well, what's the crappy Cardinals kicker? Zane Gonzalez deciding
Gonzalez.
2 different kicks. Russ Wilson throws an interception. DK Metcalf gets a touchdown. All these different things until 1 minute, still 9th place. That last D-hop catch bumped me down. I think it was 15th or 16th. Still for a cool $1,500. And then last night, I told you guys in the NFL chat, I loved the thought on this Monday, Thursday slate that there might be any ownership in the Rams versus Bears. I told everybody in our Discord, I'm playing Gerald Everett, the defense, and then I'm stacking the crap out of Atlanta and Carolina. One of those stack guys ended up being Curtis Samuel, who was only, I think, 10 or 11% owned in the 33. So won that too. So I had a great week. $4,174 profit. So double my goal. I do just kind of want to flick over here on the sports side. And again, this is Roto Tracker, guys. So there's.
You want to show them on the cohort how to change the dates?
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fine. Yeah. So
I think you have the.
Yep. It's easy. So right over here on general on this cohort, if you go all the way down here, actually I already have the filters in, but there's a date from. So that's the date that we taped. And then 10:30 is today. So Friday the 30th. Just put those in and you can see exactly what you did. So, we'll go into regrets and stuff, but had a decent Saturday in college football. Then NFL, obviously, 871% ROI. We can definitely repeat that the next few weeks. I'm not worried about that.
That's a high standard.
Right. And then soccer, which obviously is my number one. Had a rough midweek Champions League, but still for the week, 18% ROI. Nice, $450 or so there. So enough about my week. It was great. We'll go into there with regrets, but I'm going to stop my share, Chris, if you want to kind of go over yours.
All right. Yeah, I will pull mine up here. One thing too, I just, when I was thinking about that, when I was thinking about you sweating out that game, I think the percentages of, those kicks being missed and just the events that took place seemed like really far-fetched that you wouldn't, just cash it. And then, but then also I thought, I'm like, well, Hopkins hasn't had a catch in like a quarter and a half. So, and he was right next to that milestone.
Well, at half, I think it was like literally he didn't do anything from the third, like the first play of the third quarter on. Because I remember at halftime, just like you do, you always – first thing you do is look to see if you can go up. And it's like, oh, everybody has Lockett, who's the reason that jumped me up. And then you look down and you're like, oh, there's a Lockett plus Hopkins. All right, well, I'm going to drop. And then to go for like 2 hours and not drop at all, you're just like.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Yeah, that was kind of like what Hopkins did in the week before. He didn't do anything, and then he had like a 60-yard bomb in the fourth quarter. So,
yep. So go ahead.
This is mine. This is, how we mentioned that we have very contrasting styles here. I wagered 15,000 from when we recorded to today, with a $4,000 profit, 25% ROI. Sports, I think he was pretty heavy in soccer just because there's not a lot else going on. Some NFL here. NASCAR was really good over the weekend. I have an opponent that continues to invite me. Which I have, again, this is another feature of Roto Tracker, is that I can literally go to the head-to-head tab up here on the top.
We don't need to show his name. He knows.
No, I won't. But well, he refuses to. Whatever. That's a different story. But
right.
That is a feature though that I use just to be able to decide if they are a positive expected value, opponent for me, because not everybody is, and it's not worth paying the rake to play the top of the top. So,
right.
It was a really good week overall. So that was probably, one of my best weeks to date. So I'm really excited about that.
I mean, between the two of us to double our goals for the first week of this, it's almost like we planned this out, but there are going to be some crappy weeks to come. So don't worry, guys. I do want to say one thing on what you mentioned about, and leave this up because I do want you to do one thing, and then I want to show it in comparison to mine. But you mentioned about the head-to-head. I think, I know you're going to be working on like a more advanced head-to-head follow-up based off of your last video that, our subscribers loved, and it looks like a lot of people on YouTube love too. But you mentioned about not playing somebody over and over again that's an expected value, and I think that's so important. Is if I consistently run into a guy, especially in your higher stakes, that's always making good lineups, that I'm either going to have it's just going to be like a 1v1 or a 2v2, or it's consistently just trading back and forth. It makes no sense for you to keep playing him, right?
Yeah, it just like you just said, the rake that you're going to pay even if you're at like 55% win rate, you're still losing the 5 to 6% to rake.
Right.
So you're back to breaking even or worse. So I think that's why using kind of the block and post or just sniping strategies are really important if you're going to play a style like mine that's exclusively head to head.
Yeah, and I mean, again, and you don't want to keep putting yourself in 1v1s. Like the whole idea too is that you want to show up with the guy in a $500 head-to-head that, just in using soccer terms, that is playing, just strikers or underdog players, or in NFL terms, you want the guy that stacks the 39 total and avoids the game with a 55, right? Like that's what we want to see. We don't want to see, oh my God, it's Russ Wilson. I chose Russ. He chose Kyler Murray. Like that's not like the matchup I want to have, because those
Yeah,
outcomes are truly just random.
right. Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, I think in the showdown world, it gets a little bit difficult because there's less, but still, you're right. A lot of times with the sharp players, you're coming down to the last man in. Maybe it was a punt in soccer, and you're
Right.
like, who picks the better center back? Well, that's not the matchup that I want to take.
Right. I want the guy that is playing both goalies. Which is a negative EV type of move, type of thing. So something like that. All right. I want you to do this and compare to mine, because I think go to dashboard, and I want to see your graph if you can do it with the monthly view. And I'll tell everybody why. So great month, almost 6,000, but that's why I want to show the graph. So this is actually perfect. So show if you can hover your mouse over to show people kind of the swings. So start from the
Yeah.
beginning.
So let's see here at the beginning of the month. The furthest I got down, a little bit over 2,000.
And then made our way
Um,
back up.
what's that? Yeah,
And
and then
then,
then slowly made our way back up, and actually kind of around probably right before we recorded our video last week. To end, at
right.
5,800, this would be we are almost done with October here, but again, this, like taking a little downswing like this, I just trust the process that I've used for so long that has been so successful that I don't really waver too much. But I think that's where, I talked with one of the other sharp players last night, Tendril Storm, about, he's changed his game a lot too, where if you trust your process, that's great. But the downswings, if you don't have good bankroll management, can just sink you as a DFS player. So if you still have to stay within your bankroll, even on those downswings.
Yep. And if you want to unshare your screen, I'll share mine, and I'll show you what I want people to kind of, the reason I wanted to show the graph. So somebody that's going to be playing cash versus me, who does a lot more GPP. Let's do month, right? So you get all these a lot. And honestly, if there wasn't such huge spikes here, we would see even more different. We would see more like up and downs. But we notice, you get these little things. You're going to go up a little bit, down a little bit, up a little bit, down a little bit. And I'm balancing some cash games in here, but not always, the best bankroll management in terms of cash versus GPP. Sometimes in soccer, if I don't think it's a great cash slate, I'm just not playing a lot of cash. I'm playing a lot more GPPs. But all this, and then boom, here's your first spike. And then it's weird on this graph. This Monday, Thursday, Roto Tracker made it Monday's results. So in actuality, we should have seen this, then a little valley of UCL death, and then a spike here. So I guess my point of just mentioning that is, you've got to understand the styles too. Pick your style as a DFS player. There's no wrong way to do it. Like if you want to focus mostly on GPPs, go for it. Or if you want to focus mainly on head-to-head or cash, go for it. Just understand what those values can look like. As a GPP, you potentially, I've talked to a lot of guys about this. You're going, I'm trying to make sure I do this right. I can't figure out the mirror, right? but you're looking for it to go up, for your spike, and then it might be down straight for a week. Just small little losses. Like if you were playing $300 in GPPs and you get $200 back, guess what, guys? That could kind of be a win. Like that's not the worst thing in GPP life, because you're trying to shoot for the top prize. And if you're not shooting for the top, and this is something that's really helped my GPP game lately. if you're, and it actually is from doing these videos and having people ask questions, but if you're not shooting, if that lineup is not going to be unique and it doesn't have a chance to win first, you probably shouldn't play it. Like that's been like the biggest thing that goes through my head is like, if I know that this lineup looks too optimal, I need to do something different because it just doesn't make sense for me to be one of 150 people with the same lineup in a GPP.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, like you just said, if you're going to go with an optimal build, and you're looking to min cash, you might as well play cash games because
Yeah.
it's gonna pay out 50% of the field rather than
Yeah.
20.
Well, and 95% of the GPPs in the DK lobbies now don't pay double.
Oh
So
yeah, it's less than that.
if
Yeah,
you're gonna min cash, if I'm min cashing up to $33, that's 50. I was better off going to a cash game and
yeah,
doubling at least.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
just the thoughts there. All right, we're gonna wrap up on this. Chris, talk to me about your big regret and your big regret, your goal, and kind of what you learned this week.
My big regret is probably still sometimes posting head-to-heads without being aware of who's all in the lobby, and especially this goes for like Champions League when there's it just for some reason. I mean, I know people love it, so it brings out some other high-stakes players that I don't usually account for. So if I post my 5:30, 2:15, 109 really early in the morning, and then all of a sudden Empire Maker 2 decides to play the slate, or some of these other sharp players that I know aren't going to put out, bad lineups. I think I caught myself maybe like twice where I got scooped up by players that I wouldn't normally want to play against. So just being kind of cognizant of the slates all the time before I post is probably my regret. My goal moving next week, obviously I'd love to repeat something even half of that, but I don't think that's really realistic. So my goal is going to be 1,500. I think just with MLB done, and we still have NFL, but kind of some of those other sports dying out a little bit, it's going to be, my volume will be heavier in, soccer, and then probably some NFL showdowns and maybe NASCAR. So just in terms of probably expected volume is going to be a little bit less. I'm going to shoot for 1,500 as my goal.
I love it. So, and then, okay, you kind of went over what you learned too. So my big regret is, so I always in NFL, like I don't like go up into the super, super high stakes world, but I normally do like 5 to 10 lineups. Every single lineup gets maxed out in the quarter, maxed out in the one. You can only put in 20 entries. So if you do 10 lineups, you get 2 of each lineup in those. If you do 5, you get 4. 2 in the or 1 lineup each in the $3. And then one of the best GPPs in NFL is the $9 slant. Always enter. Was at work. I thought I did all my reservations with all my holders. No $9 slant for my lineups. Nobody. I will not show up next week. Nobody in these comments put what my damn Sunday lineup would have been in the slant. I don't want to know. It will probably wreck me inside. But yeah, you pick your game allocation. Don't wait till the last second. You're gonna play. Reserve all the lineups. Bad on me. I probably gave up a lot because what that $3 lineup was 16th out of, was it 494,000
Or
people?
1,000 some, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I don't want to know that. So that's the regret and also the learning. And then, for my goal, I actually do want to push it up. We have a lot of Champions League, a lot of Europa League. EPL kind of sucks this weekend. I'll do that in a different preview. College football, lots of good stuff. So I want to shoot for $2,500. I think that's pushing my goal even a little bit higher than I necessarily want. But let's test this out. All week, Chris, all week, as I was playing, I was thinking about the goals and thinking about this video coming up. So that's definitely a good carrot and a good thing to focus on. So I'm going to shoot for $2,500 this week and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think, I was thinking about your regret, and I think that can actually be understandable compared to the person who just plays the double up and says, I usually put it in the slant if it would have got first place. The people that only played cash and then said that, see, I don't even go that route anymore because I don't even want to know where any of my lineups in cash because I don't play GPP. So I'm just don't even tell me.
Yeah, I mean, the other one, and if any of you listeners are having it, don't unsubscribe because we call you out. But don't be that guy that's like, oh man, this lineup in the Mega Million. If I would have only spent 1,060, I would have made $1 million. Like you would have never spent it. So stop, like,
Uh,
don't get into that. Like, know yourself. You know, like, look, $9 slant. It for most of us is not that big of a deal. If you're spending all this time, like to put $9 in your lineup is not a big deal. So that sucked. But you know, don't. I guess like, maybe I'll just put this for our lesson. We'll get on this. Like, don't sit there and regret like what your lineup could have been in like higher dollar contests if you were never going to play them.
right.
Just there's no point in doing your screwing with your mind on that. Like, be happy with what you're making. Like we tell people all the time in our that join FSI, this is a process. So you know, if you're only starting out with a $25 or $50, like you're gonna grind the quarters, grind the one. Don't worry if that would have won the 15. Like that sucks. But if you only had a $50 bankroll, playing the $15 GPP is not in the cards right now. So you know, just baby steps and you'll get there. Anything you
Yeah.
want to end on?
Yeah, no, that's that's a great word of advice, because I think that's where people then end up falling off the wagon completely in DFS. But no, I am super excited about doing this bankroll challenge as well. It just keeps in my mind, where I was at and just some of the goals I want to set too. So I'm really excited for next week.
Yep. And thank you, Roto Tracker. Thank you, listeners, and thank you, Chris. See you next week, everybody. See you.